Hi, everyone. As David ended, my favorite title is Mother of My Two Girls, and to follow on Bruce's presentation, I am trying to get them to college, hoping that they go, on 80% SRI investment. You have to stay on top of it. I'm probably not the best person, but my husband's better at it, but it's wonderful. It really inspires me to know that I'm trying to send my kids to school on money of, no sweatshops, no, environmentally friendly practices. We're invested in many of the companies that Bruce mentioned. So it's important to close the loop, if you will, and trying to vote with your dollars and daughters, I guess. Okay, so thank you, David, for that introduction. I'm also happy to provide copies of this presentation. I will blow through it as far as actions you can particularly take. I'll kind of highlight one or two, but there's going to be a whole long list. So feel free to look at it afterwards. Okay. So I'm going to breeze through this because Bruce also covered this, but I come I was charged from the environmental angle. So back in 1987, the UN Brundtland Commission defined sustainability, and they took a really long time. We talk about UN and consensus and surrounding this definition, but meets the needs of the present world without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And I keep sticking with this particular definition, not only because people way smarter than me came up with it, but it talks about future generations and how we have to honor them, and so I like that. Now, I like also this definition of sustainable business or a sustainable home or sustainable classroom. Basically, it has no negative impact on the global or local environment, community, society, or economy. Strives to and meets the triple bottom line, as Bruce mentioned. In general, it matches the 4 criteria. Incorporates principles of sustainability into each of its decisions. So if you're going out and buying pencils, you add the environment into that decision process. So were they produced locally? Were they produced in China and they shipped over? And transportation emissions, did children make them? That kind of thing. Supplies or buys environmentally friendly products or services that replaces demand for non-green products or services, is greener than traditional competition, neighbors, or classrooms, has made an enduring commitment to environmental and social equity principles in its operations. So in lay terms, if you're going to try to go full green, you're talking about your physical location in space, your behavior, your practices, the policies you make, what you bring into your home or your classroom or your business, and how you interact with the community in the larger world, whether that community is your church, your local community, your state, your nation, your world. So one visual that they supply is this 3-legged stool, right? So if we're equal on the profit, the people, planet, and profits, that stool is pretty even. We can sit on it comfortably, right? Right now, I would submit that stool is very uncomfortable. It's tilting heavily to one side. We haven't given due diligence to all 3 of those legs. Another way to look at it is on the right, where some people like to think that people, planet, profits are all separate. And I grew up in California. I grew up in Los Angeles, and it's probably one of the reasons why I used to call myself an environmentalist, and I now call myself a sustainablist. But I thought tar on the beaches was a natural occurrence. And my dad said, no, you see those oil rigs out there? That's where it's coming from. And it made me, over my journey, made me think that all our products come from raw materials in the world, right? Our economy is actually very much based on the environment. And if we don't take care of it, we're not going to have an economy, and we're not going to be healthy. So I'm not saying one should dominate the other, but we really have to think about the environment as integral to everything that we do. I used to work for a very fabulous man called Tom Lovejoy, and he was my boss at the Smithsonian Institution, and he was on the board of directors for Biosphere 2. How many of you know of Biosphere 2? So Biosphere 2 was this experiment of how can we create basically clean water and air on our own, mechanically achieve it. Well, my boss resigned because the science was so bad, because basically we couldn't do it. We couldn't achieve it. We couldn't do what the earth does for us free every single day. So it's something seriously to think about. So I like to always kind of put the green continuum or journey on some kind of, I guess, linear line. I shouldn't do it, though, because it's much more robust and circular integrative, so I've got to rethink that one. But for me, there's three main phases. So right now, we're in the lovely stage of what I call less bad. And that's an awful, uninspirational phase to be in, but it is absolutely necessary. This is where most of the world is at. We are becoming incredibly innovative. We are, even though we're taking baby steps and stuff, we are saying we can do this better, right? And we're coming up with new products. And Americans love to fiddle, and we love to improve things. This is what I have so much hope for our country with. But this should not be the end goal. Less bad is not the where we want to be. So that shouldn't be the end goal. The next step, I think, the goal that we should have now, working towards too, is what I call zero impact. We can achieve buildings, we can achieve products that use zero energy, zero water, zero waste, are carbon neutral. Does everybody know what carbon neutral is? Okay. Zero social equity, positive economic impact. Now, that's a large goal, right? That's right. But it's actually doable, and we're starting to already see peaks of it, and there people achieving it. But unfortunately, our Earth's checkbook is in deficit, right? We have to give back more than we take, and we've been taking more than we've been giving back for some time now. In fact, I'm going to break in with my 6-year-old's little quote here that stunned me 2 months ago. She came back with the word species, right? She didn't know what it meant, or it was her spelling word, and so we had a discussion about that. And she said, okay, so trees create oxygen, flowers create, beauty, and bees pollinate from it, whatever. What do humans contribute to the earth? And I was speechless. I was like, we're incredibly productive, we make all things, but as far as being in the earth's kind of natural web, let's marinate that one for a while. So anyway, so we're in this deficit, and so we have to make things that actually give back. So we're beginning to create buildings that create more energy than they use, right? And it gives back to the grid. Thanks to JEA. JEA does something called net metering. If your home produces more energy, you'll get a check at the end of the year because you help them supply their grid. So we have to think about it, and this is one of my props. So if you haven't read both of these books, I highly recommend it. One is Cradle to Cradle by William McDonough and Michael Braungart. They are 50 years ahead of their time. This book is called Remaking the Way We Make Things. So they're saying we have to now make products that the waste from one product becomes the food, the beginning of another product. We have to rethink how we do it. Rather than cradle to grave, which is our traditional. So when wheat gets to grave, right, what happens? It goes in the landfill, it gets burned up, or it gets, what's the third? Anyway, it harms the earth in some way. And he's saying we are smart enough to figure out how not to create waste that hurts the environment. The other is Natural Capitalism by Paul Hawken, Hunter Levins, and Amory Levins. Again, very